Hi there, welcome to the Board Game Nights. I'm Kristof Schrader.
And I'm Sam Gillespie, and today we're doing an introduction to deck building as a mechanic in board games.
So, what is a deck building game? Essentially, in a deck building game, every player will start with a small, thin pack of cards they will then use to purchase other cards. This is to build a well-oiled machine of a deck, which they then use to fill out the victory conditions of the particular game.
Collectible card games like Magic the Gathering often feature preemptively building a deck to compete against other players. Deck building games, however, turn this little aspect of a CCG into a game itself. So what makes deck builders good? Well, there's three main points. 1. Variety. At every stage of the game there are so many different decisions you can make. 2. Strategy. Every decision you make is incredibly important, and you also need to consider the impacts of luck on that. And 3. Replayability. Every time you play, the optimum strategy is going to change, and how you play that round is going to be different every single time.
Essentially, you're trying to make the best of what you've got at the time in your hand, and then trying to set it up so that you make the best of your next hand as well. This gameplay mechanic is more adaptive, and it's essentially trying to build a machine that will best exploit the luck inherent in the mechanic.
Deck building is being used to help make other games more interesting. So for instance, A Few Weeks of Snow is a war game that's made much more interesting by adding a layer of frustration with this deck building mechanic. Trains, an area control game where you're trying to build a rail network across Japan, is made a bit more intriguing by adding a deck building layer on top of that. And finally, deck building games do not have to feature cards. Quarriors uses dice, and these games are called pool building games. One final note, a big criticism of deck builders is that they can be quite frustrating, as all it takes is one bad hand to completely ruin your strategy.
Indeed. That wraps up our introduction to deck building as a mechanic in board games. Enjoy the rest of your board game breakfast. Do you want to play a board game?
No!
It doesn't have to be a board game.